Obviously, Avengers Infinity War was one of the best movies of all time, but it still had flaws. Basically, Spider-Man didn't even meet Scarlet Witch in the movie. And Star-Lord and Doctor Strange didn't meet Captain America. So I'm hoping that's going to happen in Avengers 4. Oh, I know some people are going to say, oh, but Scarlet Witch already met Spider-Man in Civil War. Yeah, but they were fighting against each other in that scenario. I want to see them fighting alongside each other. Obviously, this film had production issues, but Disney and Marvel Studios aren't going to admit that, because if they admitted that before the film even came out, then less people would go and see it. But, basically, the fact that in the trailer, when Captain America and all of the others are charging, like, you see Hulk in that scene in the trailer, but when it comes to the actual movie, like, Bruce Banner was actually in the Hulkbuster costume during that period of time. So he didn't even turn into the Hulk in Wakanda. Like, they probably originally planned to have more of the characters meet each other, but they probably scrapped certain characters meeting each other because they didn't have time for it in the film, and the film wouldn't make complete sense. Because, like, if they were to meet each other in certain locations, then what reason would they have to go back to the previous locations that they were at? Also, like, 1 minute Captain Marvel was going to be in the movie, and the next minute she wasn't going to be in the movie. And then she ended up not being in the movie, which is another thing that makes me think the production issues happened. But I think, like, production issues happen with most movies. But the point is, like, some productions have minor issues, but other productions have major issues. And sometimes it's hard to differentiate whether Infinity War had major issues or minor issues. But I would say they're minor issues, to be honest, because the film was still amazing, wasn't it? So, but the point is, if certain changes were made to the movie, then it would have been even more amazing. But to be honest, right, I really hope that Captain Marvel meets Captain America, because there's rumours that Captain America is going to go out of the MCU after Avengers 4. So, since, like, Captain America and Captain Marvel are going to be in Avengers 4, I think it's almost guaranteed that the characters will encounter each other at some point in the movie. I mean, even if, like, Captain America passes the captaincy on to Captain Marvel, I mean, that may not be necessary, because I would imagine Captain Marvel's already a captain. Like, otherwise, the Captain Marvel movie that's set in the 90s wouldn't be called Captain Marvel, it would be called Miss Marvel or something else. To be honest, I think when it comes to the Infinity Stones, it's mainly to do with the Time Stone and the Reality Stone, because I reckon it's not just time that has changed. I reckon certain characters have switched realities, meaning Cap and the other characters that didn't disappear. And I reckon the characters that disappeared, they disappeared because in the new reality that Cap and the others are in, those guys that disappeared don't exist in that reality. I know that's kind of complex to get your head around, but I think that's sort of along the lines of where they're going with this. Like, because maybe, like, in the old reality, Captain Marvel, didn't exist. But in this new reality, she does exist. So maybe, like, she'll go from the new reality into the old reality somehow. But, yeah. So maybe, like, time's, going to change so much that Captain Marvel ends up helping in the events of Avengers 1 with the Battle of New York and all of that. I know, that theory kind of contradicts the after credits scene of Infinity War, where, Nick Fury has the device that has the Carol Corps logo on it. But that could be, like, an example of realities colliding, though. With these Avengers 4 set photos, you can make educated guesses of what is going to play out in the film. Like, it looks like Ant-Man actually travels back to the event of Avengers 1, which is very interesting because Ant-Man wasn't even in Avengers 1. With Tony and Cap and Hulk, it's different though, because they were in Avengers 1. I mean, even Tony and Cap are wearing the same clothing that they wore in Avengers 1. Well, like Tony with the Black Sabbath shirt, I mean. I know obviously this shield coat that he's wearing is different. The main question that springs to mind, are these, like, actually the versions of Cap, Hulk, and Iron Man that are in Avengers 1? Or are they the versions of Cap, Hulk, and Iron Man that are in Avengers 4 that have travelled back to the events of Avengers 1? If that makes sense. So if that was the case, and they have travelled back, then why, for some reason, have they got their old clothing on? Is it to blend in with their surroundings? I mean, obviously, like, if the Avengers 4 Cap, Iron Man, and Hulk travel back in time to the events of Avengers 1, they have the possibility of bumping into themselves, which could possibly cause a paradox, and that's kind of going in Doctor Who territory there. So, it seems like these devices are time travel devices, probably made by Pym Technologies, and they could possibly be introduced in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Maybe even as an end credits scene. So, it's all getting very complex now, because obviously, like, Doctor Strange has disappeared, and he's, like, one of the main people who could have sorted out time. I mean, to be honest, he probably will sort out time once they find a way to get him back, but probably his soul has been transported to the Soul Realm along with all of the other people who've disappeared, including Spider-Man, Scarlet Witch, etc., etc. So, Black Panther, you name it. So, basically, if I remember rightly, Thanos said the Eye of Agamotto was a fake time stone and he destroyed it. So, it seems like Thanos still has the actual time stone. So maybe, like, the Avengers will have to, like, steal all of the stones off of Thanos somehow. And, by the Avengers, obviously I mean, like, Cap and the other guys who haven't disappeared. Like, so, like, if you count Rocket as an Avenger, because, like, he's actually part of the Guardians. So, I mean, like, even that black woman isn't technically an Avenger, is she? And I'm not sure if War Machine counts as an Avenger either, actually. I could just imagine a really weird scenario where Captain Marvel knows who Cap and the others are, but Cap and the others don't know who Captain Marvel is. So she could be like, "Hey, Cap," and he could be like, "Who are you?" And she could be like, "I'm Carol, Captain Marvel, remember? The Battle of New York and all of that business?" Because, like, you know, what I was saying earlier in the video, like, in this new reality, she could be at the Battle of New York. Just like Ant-Man is supposed to show up at the Battle of New York as well. I'm sure there's going to be a scene where the pair of them are like, "Hey, Cap, hey, Cap." I will leave you with this picture of Captain Marvel smiling, because she looks so cute and sweet and sexy.